hello there, everybody. Welcome to our TalentED listeners, and welcome to today we have a special guest, Pam Ryan Mejia, an educator with an entrepreneurial spirit. So here's what I'm going to tell you about Pam. I've had the opportunity to talk with her previously. She's dedicated to making lives better and has over 25 years of experience in pre-K-12 education. And she's recently developed something super cool called Better Together Cubed, and it's an interactive digital SEL program that focuses on empathy, resilience, courage, connection. I want you to join us today as we explore Pam's journey and her mission to improve the well-being of educators, students, and families. So with that, welcome Pam to TalentED. That's your introduction.
Thank you.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you here today?
Yeah, well, like you said, it's probably more like 30 plus years because I keep getting older. I started as a kindergarten teacher.
Excellent beginnings.
It's like, that is not for the faint of heart, being a kindergarten teacher. And worked in several metro districts, instructional coaching, school improvement specialist, implementation specialists of curriculums, and just had really great opportunities in lots of districts across the metro. I also worked for a national curriculum company and did executive coaching for leaders of buildings and district leadership teams. So got to peek under the hood in different states and really compare what's happening around the nation. It's been really fun.
That's an incredible background and journey that has brought you to here. And it makes sense now when you think about what you have put together with all of the different experiences. And what did you say, the peaks under the hood? I love that. Yeah. And what else can you tell us? Anything else you want to share?
Well, I was really fortunate to be chosen by Dr. Brené Brown as one of her global facilitators of Dare to Lead. And if you're not familiar with her, she's really a rock star. And she brought me on board to share the work wherever I could. And when the pandemic hit, she specifically said, now's your time to pause and decide how you can serve the work of courageous leadership in a bigger way. And I put my head down and I thought about what are educators right now needing most, and it felt like they needed a lifeline in order to take care of students and families. And so that was the birth of Better Together Cubed, which is all about better educators, better students, better families.
Nice.
And it's kind of bold. It's a bold program, and it is responsive to now versus education pre-pandemic.
I think you need to tell us more about your journey with Better Together Cubed. It's really fascinating from what I've seen of it and what you've explained it to me. Tell our watchers and listeners a little bit more about it.
Well, at the time the pandemic hit, I was in contact with thousands of educators through a Facebook platform. And I kept hearing things like, I'm hiding in my bathroom and crying because I just can't hold my stuff together. I don't want my students to see me. I don't want my kids to see me. And what really became clear is that education is way more than just the students. It's keeping the adults in the community whole, right? And our kids were looking to us for how to navigate the uncertainty, how to navigate the big feelings. And so this program really is built on the foundation of taking care of educators and educational leaders so that they feel equipped to serve their students. And it's very experiential. There are wellness modules that are meant to be led by either building leaders or teachers themselves in a whole staff setting, replacing the business as usual logistical staff meetings and turning them into places where teachers can reconnect with themselves and others and start rebuilding trust and engaging again. because so many have said they feel so disengaged in their work right now because it's too much. And then it's an easier sell to say,
Mhm.
let's create some opportunities for students, whether it's morning meeting, whether it's advisory, whether it's transition time. And what also became really apparent is that we can't ask anybody in the education world to do more.
Mhm.
Your plates are full. Everybody's plate is full. So this had to infuse in current priorities and structures, so it didn't feel like an add-on.
Well,
And then
we need to feed the teachers so they don't eat the students, right? Like that's
exactly, I like it. Can I use that?
yeah, absolutely.
And you know, at the same time, 2 months after we started building this curriculum, George Floyd was murdered in my neighborhood.
Mhm.
And what I witnessed and experienced was a lot of hurt in families and communities as well.
Mhm.
And so that was sort of an add-on, but such a critical one. So we
Mhm.
have a parent and caregiver engagement portal that both supports them in supporting their student, but also gives them the resources for them to heal, to grow their emotional literacy, to really focus on themselves for
Well,
the same reason.
I love
Because
the
our kids need to
multi-dimensions.
see that.
It's the
Yeah,
multi-dimensions of what you're talking about in your in the title of it, right? Better Together Cubed. It's not just teachers, it's not just administrators, it's not just students. It's it's everybody together, which
yeah,
I don't know how we can continue to go on believing that we can't be on the same team with this.
yeah, exactly.
So what inspired you to focus on the social and emotional learning part, and especially, I guess, even that integration into school structures and the priorities here? Um, you obviously have a wealth of experience. What led you to say, yes, I'm going to do this?
You know, I guess I should share that I took a very intentional step away from public school
Mhm.
education for about 3 years. And if I think back to the times I moved districts, it was either for a growth opportunity or
Mhm.
because the culture wasn't aligned with my values and it
Mhm.
got to be too much, right? And my last step away was because it felt like I wasn't making a difference. And I honestly didn't think I would be back
Mhm.
serving students and families and teachers again. And I think it was Brené's not so gentle nudge to go do some hard things, but make sure you do it where it matters to you and you're aligned.
Mhm.
And it just felt like I was back home. I was back doing what I've always wanted to do. You know, my work became my passion again,
Mhm.
to be back in the school serving students, teachers,
We
and
kind of
really
shared that
bringing,
story. We shared that
yeah,
story together about finding your passion again, and swimming with the current, and not trying to swim upstream. And I think it's a beautiful story that has led you back here.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know where it would go. I just kept, another thing Brené says is you need to say yes more. Say yes, even when you don't know exactly why you're saying yes, and
Mm.
just follow the open doors and the breadcrumbs. Um, and my husband tells me the same thing, and he takes it a bit further. He's like, say yes, but make it a hell yes.
Mm.
And so that's what I did. Said yes, and I made it a hell yes. Can I say that?
You can say that. My kids keep trying to convince me to have a yes day. So maybe I need to embrace this hell yes piece and be like, yep, we're gonna have a yes day.
Yeah, I
Uh,
recommend it.
Yeah, it sounds fun. It sounds fun. Dr. Brené Brown, um, how did the work with her influence Better Together Cubed? Or maybe a better way to talk about this is she talks a lot about empathy, resilience, courage, connection. How do you see that influence coming through in Better Together Cubed?
It is woven through every part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the magic, is her work initially was intended for just adults. And there's a way to bring it to
Mm-hmm.
students that is relevant to the world that they're living in. And so it really formed every decision I made. The other thing that her mentoring did for the work is, we all, as facilitators of hers, we all take an oath to bring a lens of belonging and inclusion to
Mm-hmm.
everything we do. And pandemic meets, a racial rumbling. It was the perfect time to even go braver and bolder. And
Mm-hmm.
um, that became the reason for me for students, is everyone needs a place where they belong. Because when you feel seen, heard, and valued, you will thrive.
Well, I'm thinking about empathy, resilience, courage, connection. These are the things our kids need. They need to understand those topics. You put that in front of them, and they're going to be successful going forward.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean that we
Beyond the
don't care.
walls.
Yes, it doesn't mean
Yeah.
we don't care about math or reading or science, but they also need to have these skills to be good humans, and that's what we need to overcome
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff that's happening with us right now. Do you have any great stories about Better Together Cubed from implementation of the program?
I do. Uh, I have a really brave middle school principal that brought this to his staff
Hmm.
before he even, I mean, he announced it. He didn't have all voices at the
Hmm.
table. He just chose it. Um, and he agreed to bring it to staff meetings and to the first 15 minutes of every staff meeting. And he called me and he's like, I don't know what to do. And I said, what, tell me more. And he said, I've only carved out 15 minutes of my staff meeting and they want the whole staff meeting to be this. How can I do this? Help me out. And what he shared is that his staff meetings used to be a bunch of middle school teachers on their computers, checking their
Hmm.
phone. I mean, the thing.
Hmm.
He found that the bell would ring and people would stay at their tables and continue the conversation. And so just that, you could feel it. That's what he said. I can feel the difference. I can
That's
see the
beautiful.
difference. Yeah, I think it's great. And then I spoke with a middle school student, 8th grader. And I asked him what he's most proud of this year for how he grew. And I said, not academically, just you as a person. And he said, I've never had a friend feel comfortable telling me something that was really hard. And he said, I
Hmm.
have a friend now, and she trusts me to talk to about really hard things. And I feel like I know how to listen and to be compassionate and empathetic. And I'm like, wow,
Wow,
that's a win for an 8th grade boy.
that is a win. It's a win for a lot of people, not just eighth grade boys.
Yeah.
Well, and we know research shows that staff that is connected outside of even their work, right? We know that their climate and their culture and their ability to collaborate and move initiatives forward and to be problem solvers, all that comes from valid connections and legitimate connections. So if we can implement programs that help people come together and make those authentic connections, we're going to see that multiply into other areas, whether it's you have a standard-based grading project happening, or you're rewriting curriculum, or you're implementing a new program. Staff that's connected is better at doing that and moving forward. And then you follow the breadcrumbs. We're going to have better students, better outcomes, better grades, better achievement, and that's part of the magic that Better Together Cube brings, I think.
Thank you.
Okay, I would be remiss if I didn't ask about this. As a member of Dr. Brené Brown's team of the certified Dare to Lead facilitators, what would that look like if somebody's speaking with you to infuse courage or vulnerability into the spaces that you work? How would you work with them? Because we have a lot of trauma happening right now.
Yeah, I think generally we start with self before
Mhm.
we start talking about the behaviors of others. And the really lovely way to go at it is to examine stories that we have in our
Stories are
heads about
powerful.
others.
Yeah.
Yeah, stories of how we got where we got, why we show up what's important, what important stories would have shaped you. I think the connect, like you said, we're wired for connection, and being able to connect through humanity
Mhm.
and shared experiences, whether they're positive or negative, is always a really nice place to start before we move into things like having courageous conversations. What does vulnerability look like? What are the pros? What are the cons? When's it appropriate? Um, and then I think as leaders, empathy is, there are so many times that we miss
Mhm.
opportunities to be empathetic. And when we are working with staff members who are overdone, who are hurting, who have experienced a lot of loss and trauma, that's a skill that really is critical for all of us to lean into.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, that was super serious on we're going to change pace a little bit, right? No, that's okay. I love it. I mean, we got to talk serious sometimes too. The theme here, better together cubed, is threes. So I have some trivia questions for you. I'm going to see if you can answer them. Obviously, this is under the theme of three. So, for example, if I said, what popular three-sided shape, looks like a piece of pizza, it would be triangle.
Triangle.
Yeah, there, that one was too easy. So that's why I use that as an example. Let's see how many of these you can get. Better together cubed. The answer to threes. Here's your clue. It's a popular card game where players try to get rid of all their cards by playing sets of three.
I think gin.
Close. Crazy
No?
Eights. Crazy Eights. This
Oh,
comedy film series features three main characters who embark on three various misadventures where they get lost around the theme of a wedding. This one's a hard one.
did I flunk this?
you you can authentically and courageously flunk it. Yes, it would be the Hangover trilogy.
Oh, geez.
Oh, I know that was hard. Clue. It's a popular phrase that refers to a situation where three favorable outcomes occur simultaneously. You would say the third time's
A charm.
third time's the charm. All
Well,
right.
thanks for that coaching.
Yeah, there was a little bit of coaching in that one.
A little scaffolding for me.
This is a sport where teams consist of three players, and each player takes a turn throwing a small ball toward a target. Usually played
Okay,
in
I
the
got it.
yard, on the grass. There's a little ball and bigger balls. It's
I didn't know it
called
was teams of three, but is it bocce ball?
ding 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 ding. Bocce ball is correct. Here's an easier one. Famous fairy tale features three bears and a young girl who enters their house.
Goldilocks and the Three
We're
Bears.
differentiating. We're dropping down.
Totally are.
Okay. Let's do last one. This is a term used in music to describe a chord consisting of three different notes played simultaneously.
Um, uh, I played
A
piano. I should know.
try, triad,
Triad.
triad. And to be fair, everybody, I did not tell Pam I was going to do this to her. So I'm dropping all of these.
No, and
Here.
I mean, like, I'm sweating because that was the hardest part of this whole thing. I can talk all day about,
Okay,
courage.
let's end with an easier one. I'll give you one more. This international event is known as a combination of 3 sports: swimming, cycling, and running.
A triathlon.
Yay, you did it. So courageous, Pam. Well done today. Let's come back to kind of the substance again. Do you have a call to action for anybody who's watching or listening today?
I do. I think it would just, I don't know if it's called to action, but everyone, students, everyone is looking for a way forward, a path forward. And I think people are desperate for spaces to connect, and share, be seen, heard, feel valued. And I think that's my call to action is how, as leaders, how are you going to do that this year? Because
Awesome.
it's so powerful.
That's how we connect. Pam, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your experience with us today. And just a reminder, if you're watching and you want to work with Pam and some of Pam's team, please contact us at School Pro and we'll get you connected to Pam and her incredible work. Or go ahead and check out Better Together Cubed if you want to have a lasting impact and change up those staff meetings. Thank you for being here. And thank you for tuning into this episode of TalentED. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave us a review. If you have any suggestions for future topics or guests, please contact us. And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, stay authentic, stay engaged, stay PKS, which is positive, kind, and supportive. Thanks, everybody.